YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to my review for Kamen Rider Revice Episode 4. So this was effectively our sort of finale to this two-parter we've had. And last week's episode was solid. I liked it, but this one was a lot better. I really like this one. That's almost always the case with two-parters, though, as you very rarely have the setup episode being stronger than the finale episode. But this one was just really good. It had a lot of really good stuff to it. Because, like, in addition to being a pretty decent kind of plot of the week, it also included a decent amount of content for the overall show and not just, like, the useless filler character stuff. So we kind of resolve everything with Iki and his brother just regarding Iki not signing up with them. I meant to mention a few weeks ago, like, him wanting to help the organization but not officially very much reminded me of Kabuto, but obviously in a lot less jerkish way. But I forgot that that was kind of reminding me of how Kabuto, like, had Zect technology, but he didn't want to work with Zect. But effectively, his brother's still trying to get him to sign the contract, but he refuses at the beginning, and he's saying, you know, if you would have signed with us, you would have had the driver, and then our sister wouldn't have got kidnapped. And it's kind of that eternal struggle about that. Not eternal, 4 episodes, but you know what I mean. Eternal! All words are ruined by Toku. Anyway, you know what I mean. It's kind of the struggle about that, and the same thing with his struggle of priorities with protecting his family and the family business and protecting other people, and that all kind of comes into play. And then as far as the Monster of the Week stuff goes, there was kind of a red herring last week that it was the guy that kidnapped him that was the gorilla monster, the gorilla deadmans. But it was actually her friend all along, which is pretty obvious. They shrouded her at the end. I was fairly certain of it. I didn't want to mention anything in case I was somehow wrong, which I didn't think I was. But it turns out it was her all along, and she came up with the contract. And she's basically mad at her mom because her mom is, like, really obsessed with her child star daughter and completely ignores her. And when she tries to reach out to her at this concert, she, like, freaks out and summons the Deadmans. And what's really nice about this is, I mean, we might see her character again because she has a history with Iki, which is something I'll get into in a minute. But what's nice about this is instead of just this solely being us learning about a character that's like nobody because it's just a filler character, they use it to sort of teach you about the way the rules of the Deadmans work more fully and kind of immerse you in the villain's motivations, because we kind of know their motivations from, like, the beginning conferences and stuff, but they have a scene where, like, the main villains are sitting around and explaining what they need to do and how the Deadmans work. So, like, effectively, you know, when they contract with the Deadmans, it makes the monster, but then if they do, like, a more full contract, they merge with it, so the human and demon become one. And the villains are after these. They're after the humans that will merge with their demons because those are the only ones that they can sacrifice to bring back their boss, Gifu. Some people call him Gifu. That's their goal. And so she, after she gets rejected by her mother, she merges with the Deadmans to become the full-on demon. And it's a weird-looking costume, but it's kind of creepy, and I have to say there was a lot of creepy effects around it. Like, just the way her voice sounded when she spoke was creepy, and she did this weird, like, singing, humming thing, which I just found generally disturbing. But effectively, she turns into this demon thing, and she kidnaps her sister, and Iki then later goes to his mom after a fight with Daiki over all this. They have kind of a big blowout over everything going on, and he goes to his mom, and it's actually a really nice scene, because it's a scene between Iki and his mom, but then Daiki's kind of eavesdropping, but in a roundabout way, she winds up giving them both advice, saying, you know, because Iki talks about how Daiki really overthinks everything, but then when it comes to the moment, he can't perform. You know how it is? And she says, like, that's true, but she kind of gives him advice for Iki, and then advice that kind of also helps Daiki as well, I think. But she tells Iki, like, yeah, you rush out there, and, you know, you go to help people immediately, but you also don't see the people you kind of trample over. So I thought it was kind of a nice, grounded scene, and I like that it gave them both advice. And then it inspired him to go seek out the girl's mom and bring her there to get through to her. But then unfortunately, even though she got through to her, like, the possession was too strong and she went berserk, basically, and the girl fell. And when she fell, we get our debut of our new form. I think it was the Pterodactyl V-stamp that we saw last week from the exchange, and he uses that, and it's like a Faiz hybrid form, and it gives him this cool hover bike. Another great-looking form. Probably my second or third favorite. If I'm not counting the base form, it's my second favorite, but it's a really cool looking form. It would make so much sense for it to be a shark because of Faiz, but it still works and it looks really cool. And there's a really cool action sequence with, like, flying through the air and chasing it, and then, like, when he de-transforms, he, like, not de-transforms, but he changes back to regular Revice and, like, coils through these buildings and then does the rider kick to purify it. And it was really cool because I think one thing they've done so far, at least to some extent, that they've carried over from Saber is the good fights. Because say what you will about Saber, but Saber had a lot of really cool fights that integrated some cool stunt choreography with effects, and I really saw that here, and I really liked that. Speaking of the rider kick, earlier in the episode, Daiki talks to the professor guy, and he finds out that the way to purify a human after they contract with a demon fully and merge, the only way to do it is with a rider kick. And when he visits with him, he sees all his Kamen Rider memorabilia. He's got figure arts and CSM belts and all this stuff there. And we've gone back and forth. One time where this world was supposed to have writers as fiction, and another time not. I'm still not 100% sure what it's going to be. And it's really funny because I want to stay as far away from the anniversary stuff as possible, but I'm so ready to get an explainer about that and more about his character and his love for Rider. Like, as much as I don't like that element, not like that element because I really do like the way the suits look, but I mean, I just want us to stay away from the fan service crap because the show's been so good so far. But now I'm just curious. I'm like, I want to know. I got to know. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting more into that motivation in regards to how he created it, but we get a little bit more about that as well. And at the end of the day, Iki does finally sign the contract with Vice, and then the picture of him and his brother has him disappearing back to the future style, which I have absolutely zero clue what that's about. I mean, to be fair, I'm the dumbest boy in school, but I have no idea. But setting that aside, I thought this was a very good episode. I would give it a 4. I really liked it. It had a very solid of-the-week story that also served to progress the story and the characters and the mythology a little bit, which was really great. But what I was going to say in regards to her and the demon, the girl of the week, is, usually the filler characters we never see again, which is why I hate when we spend so much time on them in Toku, because I'm like, you're not going to mean anything. We're never going to see you again. But she does have a past with Iki, so there's a chance we could see him again. And even though there was a nice resolution with her mom, I couldn't help but think this would have been a really cool origin story for a reoccurring villain. Rather than just having, like, Susie What's-Her-Name that we're just meeting and, we're probably never going to see her. Not never going to see her, but we're probably going to find her backstory later. It would have been cool to actually set up one of the main villains as this character. Like, you could never remerge or unmerge, at least for a long time, until we figure it out at the end of the series, and have the origin story for, like, the main female villain be her friend. I thought that would have been interesting. That's not what they ended up doing, but I couldn't help but think that. I thought that would have been kind of cool. But overall, still very enjoyable. The show's still very enjoyable so far. I'm hoping it can stick to it. But what did you guys think of the episode? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for all my videos. Dawson Rider, signing out.